Comparison is the thief of joy. Have you ever scrolled through Instagram and felt like everyone else is winning except you? That was Ebuka's reality, once voted most likely to succeed, now staring into a cracked mirror in Ketu, whispering to himself, "Maybe God is done with me." But what looked like the end was only the beginning of a journey back to peace, purpose, and true joy. In the heart of Ketu, where the morning sun bounced off zinc rooftops and danfo horns blended with the call to prayer, lived a young man named Ebuka. He was 29, tall, reserved, and constantly online. Not poor, not rich, just floating. Like most people, Ebuka lived in a modest two-bedroom apartment that he shared with his cousin, Chuka. They jokingly called it their boys' quarters with pride, a small space scattered with dreams, but filled with life. Yet, no matter how much laughter filled the rooms, there was one feeling Ebuka could never quite shake, the sense that everyone else was ahead of him. He hadn't always felt that way. Back in university, Ebuka had been voted most likely to succeed. He was brilliant, a first-class graduate in economics from Unilag. The day he received that certificate, his parents danced with pride. His mother, a retired schoolteacher, framed the degree and hung it on the sitting room wall, right beside her wedding photo. But 5 years later, success remained elusive. Ebuka spent his days juggling freelance gigs, ghostwriting CVs, helping friends run small e-commerce pages, and doing data entry for a man in a Baton he'd never met. Meanwhile, his former roommate Deo was now a tech guru, constantly posting photos from Dubai, dressed in custom suits, ending every caption with hashtag #grindneverstops. Ebuka stared at one of Deo's posts for the 15th time, muttering under his breath, "Omo, some people day this life. Others day watch 'em like film." He tossed his phone aside and stood up, only to catch his reflection in the hallway mirror. Hair uncombed, beard scruffy, shirt rumpled from 2 days of wear. That mirror had become his harshest critic, whispering what Instagram screamed louder: "You're not enough." Chuka, on the other hand, was content with life. He sold car spare parts at Latipo Market, came home dusty but smiling, always had food in the pot and jokes to share. Over a bowl of Gary, he chuckled, "Abe, all this your long face. Wouldn't happen? Nah, so you go day frown until you turn a senior citizen." "I'm tired, Chucks," Ebuka replied. "Look around. Everybody's moving forward. Deo's in Dubai again. Even Anita just bought her second car. Me? I day count airtime." Chuka waved him off. "Oga rest. No be everything way shine not gold. If you see the back of hustle, you know go and be the front again." But Ebuka wasn't convinced. Not that night. Not the next. A few Saturdays later, he attended Ifeoma's wedding, a university course mate. Most of the old gang was there, all seemingly transformed. The bride arrived in a Rolls Royce. Her husband, an oil and gas executive, flew in from Doha. The air inside the hall was thick with designer perfume and imported roses. At table 12, Ebuka sat with a plastic smile, nodding along to conversations he couldn't join. One guest said, wait, your office is in 6? Mine just opened a new branch near Chevron." Another added, "Omo, I just got back from Kenya for that investor summit. Crazy flight, but totally worth it." Then Deo walked in. The room shifted. He wore a custom tuxedo, a Rolex gleaming under his sleeve, and had a woman on his arm who looked like she belonged on a billboard. He greeted people like royalty and settled into the VIP section as though it were made for him. Ebuka wanted to disappear. That night, back on his mattress, lights off, phone in hand, he scrolled through 1,000 lives that looked more beautiful than his. Then he saw Deo's caption, "From Unilag to UAE. God's not done." Ebuka dropped his phone and whispered to the dark, "Maybe God is done with me." When the frustration grew unbearable, Ebuka took a trip to Ilorin to visit his grandmother, Mama Aduk. He hadn't been back in years. She lived simply, in a clay-walled bungalow, cassava growing out back, firewood smoke clinging to the air. But she smiled like she had everything. "My Pekin, look at your head." She beamed when she saw him. "You resemble your papa more each day. Come and eat before your stomach forgets its work." Later, They sat on the veranda under the mango tree, the silence warm and comforting. Eventually, Ebuka spoke. Mama, do you ever feel like you didn't do enough? Like maybe your mates achieve more? She laughed, a deep, unbothered laugh. Who tell you say life not race? Look at this mango tree. That one grew first. That one's still learning to stand. But all of them go bear fruit in their own time. Ebuka sighed. But my own fruit day take too long. She took his hand. My son, you're looking at people's harvest while your own seed is still growing. You day compare your day one to their day 100. Nah, so envy in her heart, and joy run comet. That night, he slept better than he had in months. Life hadn't changed, but his eyes had. The days in Ilorin were quiet, healing. He began to notice the rhythm of peace, birdsong at dawn, Mama Aduk's laughter while stirring oji in her old pot. It wasn't flashy, but it was enough. He stayed for a week, helping on the farm, journaling in a battered notebook, breathing without comparison. When his phone pinged again, a WhatsApp status from Deo, he didn't check it. Instead, he placed it face down and looked up at the sky. Returning to Lagos, Ketu hadn't changed. The Danfo drivers still yelled, Ashidi 150 last. The air still smelled of suya and exhaust. But something in Ebuka had shifted. At home, Chuka grinned. How was village life, philosopher? Ebuka smiled. It was honest. But peace, like everything in Lagos, is fragile. Within a week, bills piled up. The landlord hinted at a rent increase. Power was gone for 2 days. A client ghosted him on a payment. The weight returned quietly like fog. One morning, he opened Instagram again. Deo was on a yacht. Anita had just closed a real estate deal. His heart clenched. I can't keep doing this, he muttered. I need to become somebody. Fast. That evening, he acted on impulse. He borrowed 450,000 Nigerian nairas from a friend, promised to pay back in 6 months, and enrolled in an online crypto mentorship program that had been spamming his timeline with testimonies. Watch how I turned 100,000 Nigerian nairas to 10 million Nigerian nairas in 30 days. No experience needed. Ebuka threw himself into it. Studied charts, pulled all-nighters, joined Telegram groups filled with strangers yelling bullish and pump incoming. It felt thrilling, like he was finally doing something, until the crash came. A pump and dump coin wiped out most of his savings. The so-called minter vanished. 420,000 Nigerian nairas gone. The room spun. He sank to the floor, knees to chest. How did I get here? He whispered. Chuka found him that night, curled on the sofa. You tried to shortcut the process, didn't you? Ebuka nodded. I thought if I just got one breakthrough, I'd catch up. I didn't want to be left behind. Chuka sat beside him. Abu, you're not behind. You're where you are. And that's enough if you stop chasing shadows. Ebuka looked up, eyes red. I don't even know what I want anymore. Good, Chuka replied. Now we can start from there. Over the next few weeks, Ebuka took a break from social media. He deleted the apps, muted the group chats. Instead, he went on evening walks, ate umla without guilt, journaled again. One day, he found an old story idea in his Google Drive about a boy from Mushin who learns that silence is a gift. He titled it The Noise Outside. He sent the first chapter to a friend who worked at a publishing startup. This is raw, the friend said. It's beautiful. Let's polish it and pitch it to our editor. It was the first yes he'd heard in months. The process wasn't magical. There were edits, rejections, delays. But slowly the book took shape. One morning, he received an email. Subject, your manuscript has been accepted for digital publication. Tears welled in his eyes. Not from fame. Not because Deo would see it, but because this was something he built without mirrors. The book went live on a local reading app. It didn't go viral, no headlines or TikToks, but it grew steadily, one reader at a time. This story spoke to me. I cried reading chapter 6. When is your next book coming? For the first time, Ebuka wasn't performing. He was creating from truth. Then came the message from Deo. Hey bro, just read your story. Didn't know you wrote. Man, that was deep. Let's grab lunch when you're free. They met at a cafe in Victoria Island. Deo looked the same, sharp, smooth, composed. But his voice held something different. I envy you, you know. Deo said quietly. Ebuka laughed. Me? Envy me how? I've been chasing applause for 5 years, Deo said. Startups, gigs, trips. But this last year I burned out. Your story, it felt like you were living, not performing. I missed that. Ebuka sat back, stunned. And in that moment, the mirror cracked, not literally but emotionally. He finally saw what he hadn't before. Everyone's highlight reel hides a backstage. Life didn't magically transform. He still had broke weeks, still doubted some mornings. But now there was clarity, purpose. He began hosting writing workshops for teens in Bariga, shared his story, taught them how to find their voice, turned down a shady influencer deal, focused on his second book. And one morning, brushing his teeth, he looked into that same hallway mirror. It didn't whisper shame. It reflected peace. You're doing just fine, he said softly. Later, his phone rang. Mama Aduk. They call me from church? Oh, she beamed. Somebody saw your book online and said, this is your grandson, right? I told them, yes, that's my Ebuka. He planted slowly, but his tree is growing strong. He smiled, holding back tears. Ebuka still lived in the same Ketu compound, still wore his favorite slippers, still wrote in notebooks and Google Docs. He didn't need a Range Rover or Rolex to feel seen, because joy had returned, not from applause, but from alignment. He had stopped scrolling through other people's lives and started living his own. Moral of the story: comparison steals joy. You can't measure your seed with another person's harvest. Focus on your journey. The joy you're searching for isn't out there, it's within. That brings us to the end of the story. What lesson did you take from it? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you'll know whenever we release a new video. Also, feel free to share this with someone who might enjoy it. Thank you so much.